The origins of psychological warfare were in Nazi Germany, and in the Nazi ideology, they had something that was called Weltanschauungskrieg, which means worldview warfare. The idea for them was imposing the Nazi worldview on the countries that they had occupied. The Americans picked up this idea, created an American version of it, and called that psychological warfare. In trying to understand psychological warfare and in trying to understand the American approach to the post-war efforts to control people's minds, both as individuals and on a mass scale, there's a lot of illusions about how that was done. Were Nazis involved in that process? Yes, they were.
Mind control was a psychological warfare weapon that Adolf Hitler regarded as the answer for taking over the entire planet.
The Montauk Project, which was an experiment carried on at Montauk Point, New York, on the southeastern tip of Long Island, that's off of metropolitan New York, was essentially two projects. It was a mind control project where they did research on how to influence the mind of man using electromagnetics. It also evolved into a time travel project. They found out that they could actually bend time with the same equipment that they used to bend minds.
Moscow is in the midst of the last hours of summer.
Brainwashing, hypnosis, and even surgical manipulation of the human brain has all been researched thoroughly by the CIA.
To provide an objective record of a subject's behavior, she's filmed before treatment and again after treatment, and the two films placed side by side. Notice how the subject before treatment, in the picture on the right, holds onto the chair as she moves. Notice the difference in posture, the greater effort required to rise from the chair, the longer time needed to complete the simple task.
He would cut the skin, take the skin flap back, roll it back. He would then literally remove the skull, the top part of the skull. The patient all this time is under a local anesthetic, completely conscious.
name for the mind control research in this country was MK Ultra.
MK Ultra was one program of a series of programs that came out of the CIA to experiment with different types of mind control, using drugs, using electroshock, using insulin shock, and other techniques.
I think that the goal for those people who planned the program was very straightforward. It was an attempt to figure out a way to interrogate people and to learn how to protect their own agents against control by others. If you put someone in a position of being disabled by not feeding them or not allowing them to sleep or overwhelming them with sound, if you use massive shock treatment and you give people massive doses of drugs such as PCP or mescaline or amphetamines or LSD, and if you put them in periods of darkness where they can't predict from one minute to another what is going to happen next, so they're always dreading, there's no consistency to sort of what's going to happen, anybody can be put in a position of being open to brainwashing. Ewan Cameron was probably the foremost psychiatrist of his time in the 1950s. He was using high-tech sound techniques. He was using multiple kinds of loop recorders to force people to listen to recorded messages 24 hours a day for weeks on end to basically destroy people's thinking patterns.
Look at the PET scans, they're different. If I try to impersonate a different persona while I'm getting PET scans, my brain will look the same. The programming is layered in, and this comes from another one of our books back there. Cisco did amazing drawings where she invited her different alters, her different personalities to work together on putting down on paper what they were seeing because they had no talk programming. And the programming that is so sophisticated, there's so much to talk to you about. I mean, how they're using implants and on and on and on. And I'd love to tell you everything that I know, but as they go in and splinter a person's mind into thousands of disassociated pieces, they have to put those pieces together in some fashion that's going to be useful to them. So then they're structuring, and as they build the structures, they like to use structures like this. Like this is an infinity type structure, so that the person being programmed, they get a feeling like there's no beginning or no end to the programming. It gives them a hopeless feeling. And then when the master finally, the programmer or the handler finally has finished programming the slave, he will have a 3-ring binder, a laptop computer with pages that look like this, and if he wants to call up a particular alter, he would say, like Brown Levi 2003 11A, Brown Levi 2003 11A, Brown Levi 2003 11A. That right there would be the access code to pull up a particular personality that they would want. And a lot of these personalities will not live in reality. They live in a total science fiction world. They've been dehumanized. Here's how one of Cisco's alters perceived herself. And they use Walt Disney movies for the programming. As you can see, this is from a Walt Disney movie where a doorknob it takes on life. If you showed a Walt Disney movie like this, you're creating the images for them to use hypnotically as they go in and do the behavior modification and hypnosis on that altar. And so this could be used to create a doorknob alter within a person's mind. And as they go through the dehumanizing process, I have a heart. I'm not a human. And then they've been dehumanized to think that they're maybe a horse or a dog or a cat or whatever. Put in a master computer in the back of your neck, and these are just a few of the sites. These are the audio implants. There's about 6 different major categories of implants. You've got mimics implants, you've got auditory implants, holographic implants anyway, and when they program, they layer in the programming. They use a lot of, some of the base programs are your Alien scripts, your Alice in Wonderland, and Wizard of Oz. Those are very common base programming scripts. And also Star Wars and Star Trek.